Hello and welcome back to another episode of How This Indie Dev, the worst named podcast in the history of game dev podcasts. I'm your host Thomas Stewart, and I'm joined with my first repeat, what should I call you, victim? My first repeat victim, Marnix from
I
BiteMe
think
Games.
guest is a perfectly fine word as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll just call you a guest. That's probably better. I'm excited to have you back on the podcast because, like last time, we talked a lot about like your game Unicycle Pizza Time and covered a lot of the stuff that was going on at your studio and your channel then. But I wanted to bring you back on the podcast now because I'm kind of thinking, 2025 is wrapping up and I've been doing a lot of retrospection, what has gone well for me this year, what has not gone well for me. And I wanted to kind of form that into a conversation. And so I figured we can kind of do a sort of look back at 2025 review for both of us and kind of bounce ideas off of what is 2026 going to be looking like for both of us as we make games and do the YouTube thing. And I know that things have kind of changed for you personally too, because you are now a married man, which is
I
awesome.
am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So congrats. So anyway, that's kind of the ballpark conversation that I was hoping we could have.
I'm gonna have to ask you some tips on productivity while being married. I feel at a later point because there is definitely a decline that I've noticed if I look at like start of the year, living alone and just in my goblin cave, and then now suddenly it's like, oh, I have all of these things, and it's people don't want to stay inside on a Sunday all
Yeah.
day and just work.
Yeah, turns out that's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't complain. I also moved across the world because I live now in Japan. Last time I was in Japan just visiting. Now I took the plunge and I'm fully there. So something's changed there. We released 3 games also since our previous podcast. And I told you this before. This is the second time I'm on your channel. This is also the second time I'm doing a podcast ever, basically.
I
So
feel
yeah,
like
those are-
you do podcasts, but they're just like with you and the other Bite Me guys, and like usually on your channel or like on Patreon.
Yeah,
I would say
I-
they're like long form conversational.
I kind of do podcasts, but I have this thing of like I'm as much of a perfectionist. Like I don't want to put like the risk of like the other guy has a crappy camera or he has like bad sounding audio. It's something that I care so deeply about. It's like if it's bad audio, it's not going on the Bite Me channel. So I do like kind of podcasts where I go to like an event like Gamescom or like Bit Summit. We did some good ones. But then I bring the camera, I bring the big microphone, and I know like I control the variables and they just show up and talk. And that's like the only way I do podcasts, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't really look at doing them online. There's plenty of other people who do them as well, including you. So
Yeah. I mean, I found that it's really rewarding for me personally and really actually easy to do. Like I talk to some people and they're like, "Oh, I can't imagine having like an hour-long conversation and trying to keep it interesting." And I'm like, I don't feel like any of the conversations I have doing this are like contrived or difficult. I feel like I can just hit record and ask people, just follow my curiosity, and I feel like that's like the kind of content that I would want to listen to. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, but people are kind of hit or miss for my channel if they want to engage with it or not.
yeah. I mean, maybe that's a question that I have for you. What's been going on with your channel?
Yeah.
Because the parasocial relationship that we have, suddenly you just disappeared. And I'm like, no, where is my friend now?
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you
Totally.
been up to the past year? Or like half year, I would guess.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of reflection, I guess just specifically for the YouTube channel. I was looking back, I posted 15 videos throughout the year. 10 of those were podcasts. So I only had 5 videos that weren't podcasts. Early on this year, I started picking up more freelance work. And so I've been doing that part time, and that's been great, but it has been pulling away. It's like, I'm really struggling with balancing everything that I want to do. I want to keep making YouTube videos, but I also want to keep developing games and porting them to different consoles. I want to keep doing some freelance work because I have like some good gigs with that. Also, it's like consistent income too. And then balancing, family life and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do it all. And YouTube is kind of the last man on the totem pole because it brings in the least amount of revenue for me.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to justify that. So that was kind of the first half of the year. the second half of 2025 has just been like a lot of personal, like had like some family stuff going on and medical stuff that popped up, and so it's been a not fun last few months. And I found that again YouTube kind of took the hit for that, because the last thing that I want to do when I'm going through a hard time in life is turn on a camera and like put on a smile and talk about like video games, you know?
Top 10 tips to market your game.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of why I've kind of been ghosting on my YouTube channel. But I'm trying to gear things up going into 2026, and I'm realizing that, you know, I have some like my income is doing pretty well, and like I'm doing a lot of freelance work on the side, and so I have the space to hire a video editor, and I think I'm going to start doing that, so then I can keep up with YouTube without having to spend so much time in the editing phase. But we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, the editing is brutal, man.
Yeah.
The mod just doesn't make sense for us unless we get like
Yeah.
every video almost sponsored, basically, because it's
Yeah.
like they charge per minute as well. And then once again, it's also like, you know, my style of editing is like, I feel like you need to be someone who knows games to edit, like
Yeah.
who knows indie games to edit my videos. So I'm like, I just do it myself.
Yeah.
But maybe I want to hear your opinion on this, because you kind of mentioned it. You're kind of becoming a successful game developer, which means you're dropping back on the YouTube.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you like followed the drama on like r/game dev. There was a post made about us of like, why are there no successful game dev YouTubers? And I feel like it's kind of, my response was, everyone who is mediocre or even good, they have more important and more return on investment
Yeah.
stuff going on, basically, compared to YouTube. What do you think about that? Like, are there good game dev YouTubers, or do you think that, yeah, once you make money, it's like, why do we bother with YouTube?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the person, because I think some people like the question that I have asked myself starting like 6 or 7 years ago when I started getting into game development. I consistently asked myself, what would I do if I won the lottery? Like if I just won like, you know, $100 million, how would I spend my time? And I've slowly been trying to transition my career to fit what that would look like. And so the question is, like, some people do YouTube because it's like a means to an end. You know, they're like trying to support their game dev sales, or like trying to like not be tied down to a full-time job, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. But then there's the aspect of like people who truly love YouTube, and there's like things that I love and hate about it. I love the idea that I can turn like learning into like a career, like a viable career online, where I can like take the time to read books or like engage with interesting ideas and then like talk about them like this, or make a video about it and see how people respond to it, you know, and sort of like add into the public conversation. That's the part of YouTube that I really like. The part that I don't like is the editing. So I'm like, if I can get rid of that, then that would be awesome. But so I think that I would still, even if I am making like a ton of money with game sales, I think I would still be doing YouTube to some degree.
Yeah, but probably you would drop the race of like, oh, daily or like weekly videos every Friday,
Yeah.
or whatever, because then
Yeah.
it's like,
I already have.
you know, it's also
so.
like, do you run out of, at some point you run out of topics, is what I've realized now recently as well. Of like, we haven't shipped a game in 6 months.
Mhm.
And I start to feel like, you know, you stop learning as much when you don't release. And
Yeah.
then I have the thing of like, you know, I make videos about what I learn, but it's like, I've already made videos about level design. I don't want to, like, I spent the last like 2 weeks doing purely level design. It's like, what do I talk about here?
Yeah.
So I would look at like dropping. I've been enjoying like the Patreon, where it's just like 40 minutes. I just talk about one thing, and I zero B-roll. I just cut out like the silences. And even then I'm like starting to more and more like need less silences, because I've done 400 videos I saw at this point, which is kind of
Yeah.
a nuts amount. And it's like, you can just talk. But it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't perform as well on YouTube, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah. I really like your Patreon content, except for the video that I saw that was titled something like "Why Thomas Stewart is Wrong" or "Why He's a Piece of Garbage" or something. Something to that degree. Like, wait
Why
a
he's
second.
wrong? And then the first second I say, "Hey Tom," in the free like sample, I still say that I don't mean anything bad about it.
No, I actually watched that video last week, I think, and I was like, oh yeah, he actually has really good points. I think I agree with
Maybe we
everything
should
that you
give
said.
some context of like
Yeah.
what we're talking about before the people
Yeah,
who
it
do not
was
know who the hell we are.
it was a yeah. So people, I mean, people are going to know who you have like 50,000 subscribers. I feel like people who pay attention to game tip YouTubers are going to know who you are and how you have like a Patreon community where you have a lot of good behind the scenes content. But this video that we're talking about in particular was a reaction video that you made in relation to my video talking about different avenues that game devs can pursue in terms of viable career path. And one was like making like streamer bait games or like the traditional
sock
route
pop
of getting
approach
funding.
was
Yeah, the sock
the big
pop
one.
approach. Yeah, that was kind of the one that because I was like, why aren't more people doing this? Yeah.
I think I've more and more realized also that the sock pop approach, it's like kind of what's just expected now. You know, like the very fast release cycles. If you look at the
Yeah.
current Friendslop meta, especially with like Chris Zukowski pumping out the articles and podcast episodes as well.
Yeah.
Like now it's normal to upload the game once every 3 months. It's the sustainable approach. It's like, why would I want to pay people on a Patreon for this?
Yeah.
When clearly developers are getting faster now.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it was really interesting talking to Chris. I just had him on the podcast last week, and he talking about like the golden age of indie games, and I'd be interested to hear your take on that. I'm assuming you read his article and have thought about this idea of like the
I
great
made
conjunction.
a Patreon reaction video to that one as well.
Yeah.
I made a tier list of the genres that he suggests.
Nice.
I think he's, you know, what his article I think kind of also comes down to is like, what's the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago? What's the second best time to plant a tree? It's right now.
Yeah.
And I think I would have said you were in the golden age of indie games like 5 years ago. I mean, I wasn't in it back then, but like that was also a golden age. I think 3 years ago, if you were doing it through indie and not looking for publishers, it was also a good time. I think now it's maybe a bit more exacerbated, but it's like, it's always like a good time. Unless you're going to wait 5 years in the future, maybe it's also going to be a good time. But then once again, you're better off starting to plant the tree now and then just get better
Yeah.
5 years from now. I think what's good is that there's more acceptance. Like he's pushing more of the acceptance of small games can be good, which is a fight that I've been trying to battle for the past like year plus or something. I went on like I did a video with the developers of Minami Lane as well,
Oh yeah.
where I'm like, let's do some small game propaganda, but you still get all of these people who are like, no, you can only make bad small games, and it's like, no, that's not the case. So finally, people are starting to realize that now. Of like, oh, this game was only made in 300 hours, pretty good still. And I think that is the thing that I am most happy about, to kind of show that, hey, you can make good games in 1 month, 3 months, half a year dev cycles, instead of, oh, every game needs to be this tortured artist's like piece of work that takes 7 years and blood, sweat, and tears, and I sold my wife and remortgaged the house and all of that,
Yeah. Yes.
where it's not really needed.
Yeah, totally. I struggle with that definition of like what actually constitutes a good game. So I'm interested from your perspective. You said you had did you say 3 games released in 2025?
2.5 games. One of
2.5,
them
yeah.
was, I mean, one of them is a game. It's a desktop pet like idler kind of thing. I don't consider it a full game. It was, maybe I'll just do a quick rundown of the 3 games we released. So, the game we first started working on, not the first one we released, was Overtime Anomaly, which was an anomaly horror game. We canceled another game before. I think we were trying to make a city builder, a Viking city builder with no combat, but we were kind of running stuck on the game design. And then I was like, I had made a video of like, here are the 3 genres I suggest new developers to make. And it's like, one of them is like visual novels if you're an artist, if you're like getting new into it, like horror games. And then I forgot what the third one was. It's changed by now probably. And I was like, I talk all of this talk about like, hey, you should make a horror game, but we've never made one ourselves. So I was like, fuck it. It's a small scoped game. Why don't we just try this? I don't like I hate horror movies. I one time went to the cinema thinking it was going to be a comedy movie, but it was like hella horror, and I just suffered for 2 hours. But we ended up, okay, let's make this anomaly game. I found this really cool like 1980s brutalist office asset that like reminded me of my corporate days as well, working in like a more old school style office. And we made a game about that. It's performed okay. It's kind of a mix of Five Nights at Freddy's with then like an Exit 8. But the problem was our game design wasn't 100%. There were some issues with it, especially in user onboarding for some of the tasks that you had to do. I think overall it was still a decent game. And then during that time, I also watched like a video of I think Samyan, who was working on Desktop Cat Cafe, and she made a video of like our game almost didn't come out because she said like, oh, we've been working on this for 4 months and we couldn't build it. Like when we did the build, the game didn't work. And I'm like, what do you mean the build didn't work? And I was so frustrated by it that I was like, screw it, I'm gonna learn how to do this myself now. So I made like a little prototype bottom of the screen like pirate ship simulator. I don't think I have footage of this anymore. And I was like, okay, thinking about this is a dumb idea. This is not going to sell. And then we had like some anime girl assets from another game we canceled. And I was like, you know what? Can I just take this anime girl and like have her on my desktop with like the transparent background because it was the thing I wanted to learn and just like play like ambient music because I'm someone who always like whenever I'm working, I need to have the brain noise going on. It's like just whatever it is.
Yeah.
I made a very quick prototype of that in like 2-3 days. It was like 3 days before New Year. And I was like, okay, I want to get this like build out on itch.io before New Year. So I shipped it. Like I said, at the start of the year, I was living alone because I was still waiting on like getting like visa stuff and things like that. I shipped it at like 10 p.m. before New Year. I'm like, put it on itch. Okay, now I'm going to go outside and like get ready for New Year. And then that got good traction on itch.io. So I was like, okay, we spent a few more like hours on a few more weeks on this. We spent like 3 more weeks on it, I think. We added some more characters and play stuff, and then we just released that. The performance wasn't amazing, but it was a game that we spent. Well, it was a game. That's step number 1, and then step number 2 is we only spent like a few weeks on it. It was more of a side project thing that I wanted to make more myself. People on itch liked it, and I was like, why not ship this? And I think it's made $1,400 at this point. Then we shipped Overtime Anomaly. I think 3 weeks after that, it performed okay. Like I said, we got the feedback of like, hey, there's some game design issues. Like vibes were good. Game design was worse. And we're like, okay, William, like my co-developer and I, we sat down and like, okay, we can clearly make good vibes. We just try to do too much things at the same time. We already have an anomaly game framework, basically. What if we just delete 50% of the code and we only focus on one single mechanic, basically, and we just release that? And that's how we started working on Kyoto Anomaly. I live in Japan, relatively close to Kyoto. He's a big weeb as well. We found a really nice asset that's like the Kyoto alleyways, and we just made an Exit 8-like. And we set out from the beginning of, okay, it's going to be an Exit 8-like, but it's going to be the very best Exit 8-like that has ever been released, basically. So we did things like quality of life improvements. One thing that I really like is that if you now take like the wrong turn, you get like a little marker or like indicator at the top of your screen that says what you actually missed. Instead of just the hard reset, it gives you like a subtle clue. It doesn't exactly say like, oh, at this position you missed this thing, but more of like there was something wrong in this area, which is something that from player feedback they really enjoyed. We also added voice acting in 2 languages, which was kind of, you know, I said to myself at the start of the year also, we're going to treat ourselves like a professional game studio if I want to talk on YouTube. So I was like, okay, let's just get bilingual voice acting because why not? Increases the quality of life, and it wasn't like crazy expensive in terms of like the total money we had to spend on it. And then some other things. We had like a small side mechanic, but we only focused basically purely on you have that core loop. There's 5 different endings, 32 anomalies, I think, and we shipped that. And development on that, I think, was 4 weeks of like actual work within 2 people. And then half of the code base that we are already written. And then we let it like simmer for 3 weeks to like send out to content creators, basically. The build we sent to content creators was already the fully finished game. We did like a few small bugs, but it was very, very solid already. And then we shipped it. That game, I think, sitting at 98% positive right now. It's the game that I'm probably the most proud of. Let me actually take a quick look. Yeah, it's currently sitting at 98 positive, 66 user reviews, which I think is pretty decent.
Yeah.
And it's the game I like the most as well. And it was kind of the proving of, okay, we can actually make something that is good quality, even though maybe it's not the most, you know, revolutionary. I think we still did some revolutionary stuff with it, but that's kind of the vibe there. So those are the 3 games we've released so far. We wanted to release more this year. Maybe we're still going to ship some demos this year, but I honestly don't know at this rate.
That's okay. That's really good context. As you were talking, I was writing down some notes that I wanted to circle back to. The first thing that you said was using itch as like a proving ground to see if an idea had viability. So what key indicators were you looking for? Because you said it got pretty good reception. What does that look like on itch? As far as like, do you spend a lot of time like making like a nice game page for it? Is it like organic traffic or do you have a following there? Like how do you measure that sort of viability?
I don't really have any following. I think like right now we're at 100 followers. But that's mainly also just because we have some assets on there from like older projects. Let me take a look at the analytics. I make like a decent looking page. I think the bar of like quality on itch is just so low. It's often like people spend 2 minutes on it. Like I pre-made a Steam capsule. Like how would I want my Steam capsule to look? And I just made an itch version of that. I had my color palette, I had my logo. And then, can I see my statistics? I have to go back a lot in time already. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. While you're doing... Okay.
Yeah, I've got the statistics here. So we got... The first day it released 50 downloads, second day 56, and then like it went down to 30 downloads for a few days as well. And then it started dropping down a bit. There was a spike when there's this game that's like I forgot the name, but they have Hatsune Miku in it. It's like a desktop pet with Hatsune Miku that came out. Was very big as well. The moment that came out, like our downloads shot up as well, and like page visits, like very visibly, which I think was funny.
Interesting.
And those few 100 downloads were kind of like, okay, this is my very basic version on itch. Let's just ship a new build every week, get the Steam page submitted, and have a demo on Steam as well. Keep those two in sync, and then basically release shortly after, because virtual like desktop pets are such a hard genre to market for the most part. We didn't get into the Steam Idler Fest because Steam had to make us resubmit the store page 3 times because we had anime girls in it, and they were like, this is an adult only game, and I'm like, no, it's not. And they're like, nah, we think it's an adult only game. You now also have to submit a build. And it's like we had to go back and forth. It took 3 weeks basically, and because of that I missed the Idler Fest. We joined the Steam Next Fest. And then we basically released right after, because you can't send this to content creators. This is something that content creators don't really cover as much. And it's also not an adult game, so we also couldn't go the adult like platforms of marketing either.
Interesting. That's really interesting finding. So you kind of found yourself in this in-between space where you couldn't... But obviously people were interested in it, but you just didn't have like a clear marketing path for it.
Yeah, I knew from the start, like, this is going to be a somewhat hard-to-market genre. Like I said, this game started as me kind of being like, okay, I kind of want to learn how Unity works myself, because I have 2 programmers in my team. So I never have to program, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be just a level design piggy, basically, who has to, like, make the level and not touch anything. I want to learn a little bit myself. So that's how I made it. And I was like, hey, I can ship this. Sure thing. What surprises me as well, maybe, talking about itch, is that the game is on Steam, and we do regular discounting on Steam, but it also sells on itch. We've made $50 just from itch alone, which maybe isn't a high amount, but it's like still a surprising amount. Like it still to this day gets some decent visibility. Like every day, I'm looking at like 40 page views, which is
interesting.
It's not nothing.
Is it for sale on itch, or are those tips?
Yeah. It's for sale on itch. I don't think I got I pulled the demo down when the game released. It's just for sale on itch now. What we also did is Kyoto Anomaly, the other game. Once that game released on Steam, I also uploaded that build to itch, and there's like an itch.io store page. And this also sells like, this one is at $20, also not a great amount, but it's like I'm just surprised people buy from itch compared to Steam when the game is often even cheaper on Steam. The only thing I can think of is you get the DRM free build, basically, because I just upload the full build, and you also get a Steam key. But still, it's something that's like very low effort to do, and it's like it's getting us some extra sales.
Okay. So that's interesting. So if you were to frame it in terms of like what regrets do you have about how you approached game development or YouTube or Patreon or whatever? What major regrets stand out in your mind? Because it's interesting too following you and your team, because you guys have made games in a bunch of different genres now too. Like you started with like that factory game, and then you made like the rage game, the streamer game, and then you made a couple horror games. You made this desktop game, and I've seen you prototype more too. And so you guys have definitely like jumped around genre wise. Have you landed anywhere with solid conviction about where you're going to be going next?
It's less of conviction and more of like I just always my game design brain gravitates to certain genres now.
Mm-hmm.
It gravitates to horror games and to desktop games basically, because I've prototyped 3 more desktop games since then. There are way more actual game compared to just the pet.
Yeah.
And then also like everything I make now is like, but what if we make this an anomaly game? Because it's something that also I think with Kyoto Anomaly, I have confidence now of like, I kind of understand, I would say, what's good and bad about an anomaly game. I've played a bunch of them. I've made some of them myself now. So we're kind of thinking of like, hey, let's just slowly work our way, like while we work on bigger projects, have like an anomaly game on the side. Because I think there's still some unexplored like new things we want to do. I don't want to take the standard Exit 8 formula, get an asset pack and just ship that. But I think if we just get something else to do with it, I think it may be interesting. I don't know when this video is going to go live. Do you have any idea? Is it going to be before or after December?
It can be
5th?
flexible. Yeah, I can do it. Whatever works better for you.
It doesn't matter, but basically on December 5th, normally I have also like a sponsored video coming out with Fab, who wanted to like sponsor me to make a game. And I'm like, okay, what do I make here? And I ended up like once again gravitating to what do I know? I know anomaly games. So I'm like, okay, we're making an anomaly game, but this time you're on a bicycle and you're like in the Chernobyl radiation zone.
Oh,
and
nice.
every time I come up with an idea, my brain instantly is like, oh, but what if this is an anomaly game instead of whatever else thing? Because it kind of solves a lot of game design questions I have now, where I tried other things, but I just keep going back to these genres. That's just for me personally. There's other people in the team. I know Thomas, not you, Thomas, my Thomas. He still wants to make like strategy games, is what he really wants to. Yeah. And that's what he's also kind of working on. William also wants to make roguelites as well. So we have a lot of things we still want to explore, I think. I'm just a part of the team.
Yeah.
My projects are more of the side projects, and I support the other 2 developers in making the bigger games, basically. I think we have a unique structure there. What are my regrets? Oof. That you immediately go in with the hard one also.
Yeah.
I think the recent time, there's less regrets. I think back when we first started, it's just spending so much time on a single game. When we look back, after we released Forge Industry, we spent almost a year basically on a game that we ended up canceling. It was like this very big management game where you ran like a fantasy adventure guild, like anime inspired. But it was just so big and it wasn't fun, and the playtests we did weren't nice, and the game design just lacked, and we wasted so much time on it. And then we had to do that Hail Mary of like a unicycle pizza time, and that did kind of change that paradigm. But I think that is a regret. Now on the other hand, it's also something I realize with YouTube of like, you can tell someone all of the tips and all of the things of like, don't upload your Steam page if you have a bad capsule and your game looks like it's just an asset flip. But they'll be like, yeah, it makes sense. But they'll do it until they've actually like done it themselves. And then they realize, oh, actually, this was a bad idea. Even though I told them like 10 times of like, this is not the way to go. Yeah. And I think I kind of had that problem back then as well of like, even if people told me, I think probably people did tell me of like, hey, Guild Architect, the game you're working on, it's a dumb idea. You guys aren't going to make this most likely. You should move on. I'm like, nah, we can do this. Don't worry about it. whereas like now I know it because I've actually gone through it. I've actually ran into that wall and I've learned from that. And I think that's also, is it a regret? Maybe. Could we have learned from it faster than a year? Maybe. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you felt pretty happy with kind of the projects that you took on in 2025, and you feel like 2026 will look pretty similar. It's interesting because you mentioned having like smaller projects and bigger projects going on simultaneously. Is that something that you think will be fruitful in the future?
I think for us, yes, but I think it's something that only works when you have a studio structure like us, which I know is pretty rare. So for context, we're three people. We all met each other during university. I know some of the like people in my team for like 8 years at this point. Like we have a very high amount of trust between each other. They're programmers. I'm kind of the do everything guy. And then they both now get their own big project because we realized that they have very different programming styles. They have different kinds of game design. They kept fighting of like, no, we should do this. They spent like I think 3 days once arguing over how to implement a save system. And I'm like, guys,
Yes.
this is not doable. So
Yes.
you get your project and you get your project. You just show each other your game for like when our
Mm-hmm.
do our like our play tests. And
Mm-hmm.
I support both of them. But
Mm-hmm.
because most of the games that they make are more code intensive,
Mm-hmm.
I can just come in like every week and do like a day of level design or a day of UI or something.
Yeah.
And then they can go back into their coding cave and they can keep working on like their big, I don't know, procedural generation stuff or whatever that
Yeah.
I can't do anything with anyway. So then if I have downtime and I don't want to do the YouTube, I have like my own little third mini project that I can like chip away at slowly as well.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
I think the goal for this year originally was to release 5 games. I think it's going to be 3 games and 2 demos, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And I think next year I definitely want to hit 5 or maybe even 6 games. I think it's doable
Mm-hmm.
with the flow.
Yeah. That's pretty ambitious. Do you have that like clearly marked out? Do you do like your roadmap of the year like in January, or how much
I
flexibility do you build into it?
We made a roadmap last month. We made a roadmap last month that goes up until like Steam Next Fest of June, basically. Whatever happens after Next Fest June, it's gonna change. We know ourselves
Yeah.
now as well. We can't realistically we shouldn't plan for more than 3 months in advance to begin with.
Yeah.
For the sake of like the exercise with it up till middle of next year. We just know it's gonna be small games for the most part, of like smaller scoped. Maybe 1 month for some, maybe 3 months for some, maybe 6 months for another one, who knows? But because we are working on basically 3 games concurrently,
Mm-hmm.
we can do more basically at that point as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I think I mentioned this to you last time we talked, but I am jealous that you have teammates that you can rely on, because I am like over here trying to do everything myself. And as I was trying to think through my own regrets of 2025, I was looking at my launch schedule, and I've launched 2 major games and like a third smaller game that was like only on PlayStation, and like in total since I've been doing this as a solo career path. And when I looked at my launches just for this year, all I did was port 1 game to Nintendo Switch, and that was the only release that I had for the whole year. And last year, if you take all my different platform launches, I had 10. And so it's really interesting to see. Like I felt kind of bad. I'm like, man, I think I bit off more than I can chew with the current project that I'm developing, because I got through a whole year without shipping anything. And so I think that the scope of the game that I've been developing has been too big. And so
Are you still working on the like mini RTS like combat one with the little
yeah.
islands?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's cool. And I think it'd be a really good game. And I have been hammering out the design to where I think it would be like a really fun game. But yeah, I think I just need to, especially after reading that blog from Chris Sikowski, I'm like, yeah, I should just pause the bigger project, because my ambition was, shop it around to publishers, get funding for it, and then I can take more time and make it into something really good. But now I'm kind of realizing I think the move is to get more reps in for games launched, and so that's
Time
probably
to start
where I'll
making
pivot.
incremental horror slop.
Yeah, exactly.
However that may look.
Yeah.
What's
That's
the what like all of the buzzwords in one: incremental, desktop idler, horror.
Yeah.
gambling something.
Yes, casino. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's good though. I think I'm gonna aim for 4 games released in 2026, one every quarter.
Is that like unique games, or are you including
Yeah,
your porting there as well?
unique games. Yeah,
Ooh,
and
that's an
so
ambitious goal.
yeah, we'll see how much I might be more selective with what platforms I port them to as time goes on. So, or and I it might be just initially a demo launch per quarter, and then see how wish lists accumulate as the demo's out on Steam. I haven't really figured that out exactly, but I want at least like a nice vertical slice of each game out per quarter. So we'll see.
Do you know what you would want to make yet? After you watch the Chris Sikowski list of these are the top genres to make?
Yeah, I
Or
already have one that I've spent a week or two developing, and I'm gonna try and have a demo out by the end of the year. And I've been borrowing a lot of code from my bigger project. Basically, the elevator pitch is um, a slot machine arena auto battler. So
okay,
you
you're
run some
check
slots.
check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the buzzwords. But I'm actually pretty excited about it because I think it'll shape up to be something pretty interesting to play, where you just like roll the slots, see what kind of fighters you throw into the arena. They fight each other. Hopefully you win and move on, and then you can upgrade your slots and stuff. So
Yeah. I remember what I wanted to ask you, or like what I
yeah,
wanted to say as well, because you mentioned like, yeah, I'm jealous of having teammates. I recently
yeah,
got asked this question as well of like, if Thomas and William, like my Thomas and William don't exist,
hmm
would I still be doing the YouTube, for example? Would I still be doing game development? And it's
yeah,
like, if you asked me this question a year ago, the answer would have been no, because I wouldn't be able to survive standalone, basically.
hmm
I think now, should they both drop dead today, but the rest of like everything we've built up so far remains, I think
hmm
yes, I can remain. I think starting from zero solo with like even the level that I'm at now, with then also doing YouTube would be pretty hard. I think my
yeah,
my thing would just be I would drop YouTube and I would just make games, because at the end of
yeah,
the day, going back to that totem pole of like return on investment, making games way higher
yeah,
than making YouTube videos. I can do it because I have Thomas and William also working
yeah,
on the games. So if you look at like the total hours in a week, basically, I'm just 1/3 of like the total hours that can be worked. And then if I work even just 50% on YouTube, which is a lot, I don't work that much. It's like 16% of total studio capacity goes to YouTube, which is a
yeah,
very different story than 50% if you're a solo developer, for example.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So 4 games in a year. I feel like that's very tight deadlines then as well. And that
yeah.
would be like including still doing freelance, or would you be able to be like, okay, now we're going to lock in, drop the freelance work for a bit, and only focus on the main game?
Keep doing freelance for now. I really enjoy it. It's funny because it's for a game publisher, and they have me doing like my background's in programming, but they have me doing mainly platform and production work. So being like a platform manager and producer, and so I'm setting up a lot of their Steam pages and managing their discounts and stuff. And so it's great because I also get better experience into that side of things and how to coordinate like launches and demos and like the kind of the proper way to do things. I feel like I learned the proper way how to program when I was doing that at my last job, and now with this sort of freelance work, I'm getting better experience how to do like all of the higher level
Production.
stuff the proper way. Yeah. So I think it's still valuable for me. But we'll see how things go. I'm holding everything loosely, but I've realized that 2025 I just like was really I think I split myself too much to where I couldn't finish enough things, and so I think I'm going to try and scope down the things that I'm working on in terms of both YouTube and games.
I like how you changed, because what was it, the interview with Mr. Elliptic, where it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to do more. I'm going to do courses. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And now it's like a few months later, it's like, actually, that's too much. I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
just making games.
Yep. It's just not feasible and it's hard to do. Everybody goes through seasons in life, but it's like hard right now because, I have a wife and a 2-year-old daughter, and it's just like there's a lot of demand there as well, and a lot of flexibility. But still, it's like I haven't figured out how to get everything done that I want to achieve without not sleeping. So that's like the thing that I need to sacrifice, I guess, to make it work out. So I think small games will be a good route for me.
I think for most people who watch our content in general, it's
Yeah.
an optimal round, especially at the start.
Yeah. So that's kind of regrets.
What's your wins of the year?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We've talked about the L's, now we talk about the W's.
I guess the biggest wins have been, I think, financial for me, because everything is I'm making more money than I have the last few years, and that's game sales and YouTube and freelance work. And YouTube, it doesn't really even enter the equation for me because I don't have like any sponsorships really. So but everything is like
the $100 a month in AdSense.
Yeah, exactly. That's that'll cover my coffee budget. But I think I found a good flow for where, because when I quit my job, immediately I was like, okay, I have this fire underneath me, like that's like slowly growing to consume me. I have this like financial runway. How long can I do this before I have to go crawling back to my 9-to-5 job? And now I am at a place where I know what the long tail looks like for the games that I've already released, and how much that's going to bring in, and then couple that with the freelance work that I'm doing, and realizing that I can, I'm pretty confident that I can just keep going on this trajectory and keep growing things year over year. And so that's like a big burden off of my shoulders where I feel less desperate.
But now the fire is gone.
Yeah.
That's how you get to 5 videos and 1 game.
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. Yeah.
I get that same thing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Like, we're at that point now where we are break even for like the past half year or something.
Yeah.
But now we're having trouble like breaking through that break even basically and getting into, actually profitable. Like, we are now at the point of like surviving, not thriving.
Yeah.
But we have to ask ourselves like, okay, but how long do we want to survive before at some point, I would like to, I have this of like William, he wants to buy a house at some point, and he wants to live with his girlfriend at some point. And it's like, I pay his paycheck. I know he's not doing that anytime soon based on like how we are doing as a company. Yeah. He can live day to day, but like, at some point the guys also want to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, it is very nice to, you can be like, you can also just go flip burgers at McDonald's. But now you can just sit at home. And like, if he's like, hey, I'm not working today because I feel, it's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And that is like a benefit instead that I would much rather have, even though, technically you make the same money flipping burgers. Yeah. My genius move was to move to Japan, which suddenly have given me like 40% more purchasing power or something like that, where I earn the same as my wife now, who has a real job, which helps as well. But that's kind of like, once you get that point, it's like the fire does diminish a bit of like, it's not like, in 3 months there is no more money, so better keep releasing. Whereas with Unicycle Pizza Time, we did have that of like, if this is not the game, it's gonna be probably GG's and time to go back to corporate life for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I go back and forth with it because I think there has been that time where it's like, I'm relatively comfortable. I don't need to push myself. I don't need to stay up all night to, get this done by tomorrow. I can just like pick it up tomorrow, that sort of mindset, which can be unhelpful. But and maybe it's just my personality type, but I was surprised when I quit my full-time job, the amount of pressure I felt immediately, it hindered my ability to like find the fun in stuff that I was working on. And so I think that so I think I will have a better creative space to operate out of it where I'm situated now versus when I was like making absolutely nothing at the beginning and trying to figure out like, how long can I do this? So
Yeah, we have like a spreadsheet that we like that goes back to like when we basically first earned our first euro of like 2023, and it's like I can go back and see like, oh, we made 800 euros in this month, and now we're reaching the point of like 5,000, 6,000. It's like, how did we survive back then? And I know the answer. The answer was I saved a lot of money.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's like very fun still to like put all of our earnings into like a graph, and then like the graph goes like slowly up still.
Yeah.
Our expenses kind of go in line because we started paying ourselves out. Like I think a year ago at this point, before then, like before start of 2025, I think we paid William once every 2 months, and I just didn't take any pay. Like I was like, hey, you can pay me later. So the company still owes me, I think 18,000 euro or something in like unpaid wages that I just fronted myself. That at some point maybe I can pay myself back.
Yeah.
Right now we're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exciting to me, like being able to grow something. And like I talked to my wife about this. Like getting a paycheck, I feel almost nothing. But if I make game sales and I make like a third of what I would make from a paycheck, it just feels so much more gratifying. And that money just seems like so much larger to me.
Sometimes I open like I am chronically addicted to like checking Steamworks of like how much money did we make today.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like a YouTuber covers our game or like a live streamer, and then suddenly it's like a spike of like, oh, today we're at $90, and it's like awesome.
Yeah.
This is sure it's $90. It's not like crazy, but like for one day off, once again, I haven't done anything. Someone just decided to play this game and live stream it, and that gives also the hope of like if we extrapolate this to like double the games and it goes to 180 in a day, then suddenly we're talking way closer to profitability.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that keeps me going as well.
Yeah. In terms of like games that you are working on, it's interesting that you decided to make a second Anomaly game. And I know that you've like experimented with localization and all of this stuff. Where have you found like big wins in that? Or do you feel like, are you trying things and you're like, oh, it didn't make that much of a difference as far as sales figures?
Are we okay with second Anomaly game? You mean like the Kyoto Anomaly, or you mean like the Anomaly game we're making now as well, the third Anomaly game, I guess, kind of?
Oh, both. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I have always been mega pro localization. I think that's a big one. If anyone submits me a Steam store page and is like, hey, Marnix, what should I update here? First thing I check is, do you have your store page localized, and do you have your game localized? And if not, I will yell at you. Because 90% of the games, unless you're making something very narrative driven, localization always makes sense. It's always made sense for us. For Overtime and like Unicycle Pizza Time was carried hard in the start by only Japan. And then in December, so I think after we had done our podcast, then only did it get picked up by first Germany and then English-speaking YouTubers. And we had this massive second boom, like 4 months after release, basically, where I think we made $5,000 in 1 month, basically, from it. Just like because of content creators. Once again, the German ones, we had German localization, and it kind of cascades because everyone kind of looks at what are other people playing, and then like some Spanish people picked it up. By having the game localized there, it worked. And then for Overtime Anomaly and Kyoto Anomaly, both of the times we always go with a pretty conscious effort of we're trying to focus more on Japan. Because I know the language, I know like some local contacts here of like press and things like that can get me pretty guaranteed basic coverage as well. And then like Chinese we focus on as well just because it's such a big part of Steam as well. Like at the end of the day, it's an audience that I don't really interact with a lot, but if you look at like actual sales stats for our games, it's always a top 5 country basically. Where we haven't really had big games in like the United States, which is like the traditional market. I think for Kyoto Anomaly, number 1 is Japan, which is kind of what we had set out for. That's also why we're like, okay, we're going to make this dedicated investment in getting a Japanese voice actor. We're going to make a Japanese version of the trailer. We're going to do a whole Japanese marketing push, basically. So that one was okay. And then like Korea was number 2. We also have Korean localization. I think Russia is number 3. And only then it was like United States. So we often get this remark of like, oh, your games are only successful because of your audience. And I think yes and no. The benefit we have for our audience is we can get very quickly to the 10 review mark, because I just do like a live stream of like, guys, we're releasing our game live now. We're just going to talk about it. If you want to support us, like buy it right now and leave us a review. And then we like refresh the page on the live stream. But once we get to that point and the Steam algorithm actually takes off, the YouTube audience takes up just a tiny amount of our total game sales. And it's also something that I've come to accept, and it's fine, because not everyone wants to play anomaly horror games. Some people want to play roguelike deck builders. Yeah. I will never make a roguelike deck builder, I can tell you that now. So I think there, it's okay. Also with My Virtual Friend, for example, that was a game that is number 1 Russia and number 2 China, I think. And we also saw these same statistics from the Steam Next Fest of like only China and Russia played this game, basically. And like, you know, Kazakhstan, which is basically Russia, because that's how they like try to avoid like sanctions. And that's kind of where my thing is like, we just localize everything. First thing, like when we start a Unity project, the first asset we throw in is like the one that I can go full screen. And then the second asset I throw in is just like a localization, just to have it like baked in from the start. And I don't worry about like actually translating every term, but it's so much pain to add localization later on compared to just right when you start.
Yeah, totally. It's because then you end up missing a lot of stuff. I remember in my last game that I made a debug tool that would change everything that could be localized into the word poop. And so if you go through my game, like if you didn't see the word poop, then you knew that string wasn't localized yet. And so then I could go.
Yeah, but then it's like there's like this one window that you forgot even existed. Yeah. That's like a confirmation window if you click on a specific setting, and it just says poop, poop, poop. And then you're like, oh, shit. Let me fix that.
Yeah, exactly. About growing your audience, you're almost at 50,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And you're like, last I checked, like 300 subs away or something.
200, I think now.
200, yeah, that's awesome. And 524 videos, it says here.
That's including shorts. That's the problem. You can't like split like live stream VODs and then also. I can see here, according to my YouTube studio, I can see the split. It's 318 like normal videos.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Is that what you anticipated the growth of your channel to look like?
I think it's slower than expected. I think also there's like a sad note, is that if you look at basically the last 2 years of our YouTube channel has never performed as bad as it does now in terms of views, in terms of like subscriber growth, and in terms of AdSense revenue. Especially AdSense is extremely rough for me right now. So to give you an idea, our AdSense, when we had 30,000 subscribers and like, I don't know how many views we had, like I think 160,000 a month, was at around 400 euros. We are now looking at 187 euros for this month. Yikes. And it's like, I don't know why. Like the good thing is, back when we had 30,000 subscribers, YouTube was still a much bigger part of the pie, basically. Yeah. Now, like 200 euros in AdSense is like, it's not like a rounding error, but it's not even top 5 usually of like income streams for us. Like we also have sponsorships now that are taking up way more, luckily, but like just pure like YouTube statistics, we have gone down an immense amount basically since August, and it's not ideal. So it's like, okay, we're almost at 50,000, but I don't feel like celebrating it anymore, basically, because it's like, yeah, we reached that number, but what does the number really mean when I can't break like 5,000 views on a video? Is kind of what I'm looking at now as well.
Why is that, do you think?
At first, it was like, I thought there was like this YouTube mini apocalypse thing back in August, where suddenly like everyone's views were way lower, and then some people were like, it's from the ad block, and then some people were like, they changed the YouTube algorithm, and change this and whatever. And we were very much hit by that as well, which was very unfortunate because right when that like big viewer drop happened, it was Gamescom, and we had like a big sponsor lined up, and we were doing daily videos, and every video, even though they were really good, and we were talking with PR agencies, we were talking with Unity's development team, they got like 2,000 views, 3,000 views, and I'm like, this is horrible. There is no sponsor wants to fund this next year. I can't like take this as a use case, and we never really recovered from that basically, even though like apparently the problem got fixed. It never really came back for us in terms of the views we have.
Huh. That's really, really interesting. I mean, I still think it's a really big milestone that you guys should celebrate because 50,000 subs is a lot of people.
Yeah. I think maybe one other thing that changed is that our backlog stopped getting views. So, in YouTube Studio, you have like the 48 hours, like most recently watched.
Yeah.
And this used to always be like around 1,000 views every 48 hours on like our tier lists. Like they kept performing. They were always in the top basically, except when I just released the video. And they just stopped. They're not even in the top 20 now anymore. And they're making 140 views in the last 48 hours, which is a very low number. Like there's only one video that still has a good backtail, and that's our Unity input system tutorial. And
really,
none of our other like old videos that used to always perform traditionally very well, like the ones if you sort by most popular, they've all stopped gaining views basically.
Interesting. So, do you think it's because they aged out, and so because they're old and they're a little less evergreen?
I'm not sure. That's the thing. Also, YouTube is a big black box, and nobody really knows. Even the people who are like the YouTube experts and they sell you the courses are like, they say like, oh, it's the algorithm. Oh, you should do this. I tried doing like shorts and like, sure thing that shorts give like a spike to your views, but it's like it's empty views. It's hollow views. It gives you nothing. It gives you no meaningful growth. Yeah. So it's like, what's the point? Why are we even trying here? Yeah. It kind of just gave me more of that mindset shift of like, okay, making games is the priority. Yeah. Because making games, I'm still selling the games that we uploaded. We uploaded like a year ago, 2 years ago. Whereas that same thing can't be said from YouTube basically, with that backlog completely dying out, where YouTube feels more like the treadmill of every week you have to keep uploading or your channel is going to fall off and it doesn't matter. Whereas with games, if we just make more good games, that's going to be the more sustainable thing. So I've kind of mentally checked out of YouTube. Like I still do my daily, like my weekly video. But other than that, I've definitely reshifted my priorities more and more to, okay, just make good game. And that's the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I found too, because across all the platforms that I've released games on, they all have like a decent long tail of consistent sales. And so I've built up this little backlog of reliable sales income every month. And then I realized, well, shoot, I went all of 2025 without increasing that back catalog of games that I have selling. So I've done a similar thing where I'm like, okay, I really should shift, into making more games. And I was considering dropping YouTube even more than I have been, just that I could have even more development time dedicated to it. But then like my mic broke, and then I tried recording a video and my phone stopped recording halfway through, so I lost like all of the recording. And I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll just hang up the coat with YouTube for a while. But then I started getting back into it, and I'm like, okay, I'll just hire an editor. Have Chris Zukowski on and have a good conversation with him. And I'm actually really excited going into 2026 though.
What does the end of the Thomas Stewart BiteMe channel? What does the end of the Thomas Stewart YouTube channel look like?
The end of it?
Yeah. How do you see yourself? At some point you're like, I'm done here. I've said everything I wanted to say. My mission is done. Yeah. How do you imagine the YouTube? Because that's something that I've been thinking about as well. Of like, how does BiteMe Games end? Because if we keep going on this trend of like views keep dropping, subscribers keep dropping, at some point it's like, we need to stop this here. And I kind of want to know, like, how would you see your end, basically? Yeah. How would you approach it?
My end would be, well, it could end in two ways. If if YouTube truly is just like a dead avenue for me, then I would strictly just use it for uploading like trailers for games that I'm making, and just use that audience, to look at trailers. I might still do these podcasts, honestly, because I would still get value from them personally, even if the engagement isn't there or whatever. Forgot what I was gonna say though. There was the end.
Would you make a goodbye video?
No. Well, no. Because, well, it just, something would have to drastically change in my situation to do something like that. Because the way that I've set up my YouTube channel, which might be to my detriment, is that, like, I don't...
Oh, yeah, you have the personal one. It's Thomas Stewart. It's not
Thomas
Stewart's games. Yeah, you can reuse it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I don't... I don't have, like, a lot of clout, Like, I don't have a lot of, like... Like I'm further along, the game dev journey than a lot of people, but it's not like I've made like $1 million making a hit game, and it's the voice of my channel isn't like, here, let me show you like how to do this correctly. My channel is more like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Let's see what happens. So I think my channel would die if I just stopped learning or trying to grow like as a game developer. So
yeah, because that's like another problem is like you're gonna keep growing, and that means you're going to alienate like the beginner big audience. Because I think we once did a poll of like 75% of our audience has never gotten further than like an upload on itch. I think 40% hasn't even like started like prototyping seriously.
Yeah.
So at some point you learn like the more advanced stuff, and you're like, oh, this is really valuable, and then you upload it and it gets like, it's 10 out of 10. It's the worst performing video you've done in months.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? That's something else. That's why I like to do the Patreon, where I don't have to worry about the statistics and the metrics. And it's like, if you're more advanced, go there. I just talk about like zero algorithm. This is the things I know there. Yeah. Whereas I almost feel forced to like keep making almost beginner like videos, or like hopium videos also on like the main YouTube channel, because otherwise the number just keeps dropping even more.
Yeah.
And those are, I think, like some of the things I consider as well, where I was recently going through like my old scripts, and there was like one of like, oh, should I make a video about the best game engine to use? Because it's like, it's easy views.
Yeah.
But then I ask myself like, okay, sure, it's easy views, but what is the end goal here?
Yeah.
I'm going to get maybe views, but it's going to be of people who have never really done anything game development wise, most likely, because otherwise you wouldn't watch a video about should I use Unreal or Unity or Godot.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I really want more of those where I feel like I'm so much further than them? I've released a bunch of games. Maybe this is ego talking, but like I become more and more disconnected with the majority of my audience, basically. Yeah. And that's something that I'm also like at some point scared of, I guess. You see this with like a Tim Kaine. Like he is like a very good game developer. Mm-hmm. And it's what he's known for. He made like the Fallout games, but he is so different than the guy who is only now starting to learn like a 2D pixel art game in Godot, that I'm like, what is there like overlap between these two, basically? And that's something that I'm kind of worried about as well.
Yeah, I have two big thoughts on that. One is I kind of like the mental challenge of trying to figure out how to package my ideas in a video that appeals to multiple demographics, So like still being able to go deep, talking about some ideas for people who, know or have experience, but then like still covering like the general broad stuff for people who don't know, So kind of like having like explanations of stuff kind of stay at the surface level, then go deep a little bit, then come back up. And so then it kind of appeals to everybody. I don't know that I'm especially good at that, but it's like an interesting mental exercise. Like, how do I explain this in a way that, like a 10-year-old could understand, but also like me last year would be interested in or learn something from. My second thought is that I used to be pretty critical of the idea of like gated communities or like paywalls to get into communities for game dev. And now I realize that now that I'm in a handful of them, I think that it is a big perk, being able to like join a Discord or a Patreon community of people who are actually taking game development seriously. And so then you kind of are able to kind of get away from the people who are never going to, get past uploading a simple game to itch, but then you can like really dive in deep with people who are more serious about it.
So guys, our new Thomas and Marnix game development cohort is starting. There's a link down below for only $99 sign up. Only 20 seats left. This is not real. We do not have a game dev cohort. Just make games.
Yeah, exactly. That would be interesting though, to kind of have like a public or unpaid sort of cohort, but to get to different levels, you have to like meet different milestones or thresholds, like, oh, you get access to this channel in the Discord if you have released 2 Steam games, and then you can kind of like work your way up and have different conversations with people.
The problem with that is that like once you've reached like a certain level of success, you kind of get invited to like the 10-man groups of like other successful game developers. That's the thing, like that it's the same thing where also like our Discord server, we have like a few people in there who have like made decent money and like decent successful games, but it's like you're not going to go to a beginner game dev Discord and like grind through it to get to the levels. To then maybe talk to more advanced people, because once you reach a certain level, someone else will reach out to you and be like, hey, you want to join our Discord server with like 4 other crack developers who've all made $1 million?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's once again, you're like cool enough that you don't really have to worry about like that side of game dev ever again.
That's true. Yeah, I've been invited to a few of those that are like specifically YouTube game devs, which has been super helpful for me. And it's like interesting, like going in there now and I'm like, oh, I have more subscribers than a bunch of these people, but I don't. But I didn't originally. So
I definitely feel like if I wanted to end the YouTube channel, to go back on that, I talked about this as well, because it's something that keeps me up. It's a big part of my personality. I would probably do like the Tom Scott approach of like, I'm going to make a video like half a year in advance or a year in advance of like, hey guys, this isn't working out anymore. This is my 6-month notice. You're going to get videos until then, and then I'm gone. Yeah. But I've realized that I do like YouTube in general. So like, even though like maybe game dev YouTube will stop at some point, I think I'll always keep doing YouTube. Yeah. Kind of as like a test, I've started like running a channel with like my name on it basically. And right now I just upload like dumb shorts about like, did you know in Japan, like the garbage trucks, they play children music and like why that is. Just for like fun and like shits and giggles. And I do really enjoy like just content creation in general as well. Yeah. It is like, it's at 41 subscribers. I'm not kidding myself, but it is still like a fun thing that I probably would keep doing. But I hate like those YouTube channels that just disappear one day. Like they stop uploading and then it's like lost upload 2 years ago. And it's like, are they still alive? What's going on? I want it to be like a clean breakup at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I remember I've seen this happen with game dev YouTube channels where I'm like, this person has tens of thousands of subscribers and they just ghosted everybody. Like what? Like I would never do that. And now I'm like contemplating like that very same thing. I'm like, man, I have so much stuff going on in my life and like YouTube just always gets the short end of the stick and so all this stuff. But I don't know. I it's just hard, man. It's hard to juggle it all. I need
especially
teammates.
When you're solo.
Yeah, exactly. I need some more money so then I can hire people. That's what I need.
Or you just wait like 10 more years and you just get your like Biden 12-year-old daughter. Have you started like indoctrinating her? Like, oh, it's your 2-year birthday. Here's like a book on how to draw and like a graphic
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
Slowly
she can be my artist. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The family business. Yeah. Just have to keep pumping out kids.
We joke about it as well of like every time like Thomas or like my Thomas, not you, or like William, like they get a new girlfriend. I'm like, oh, what are her technical skills? Do you have a resume? She doesn't do art. I don't think we can make this one work, unfortunately.
That's great. Have you considered expanding the Bite Me team to fill in the gaps of hiring like an artist? Because yeah, having like you're kind of like a multidisciplinary role, but then with Thomas and William being more technical, have you thought about bringing on like an artist or? Um,
We've done artists before.
mm-hmm.
I think the problem is that right now we have that magic sauce of being so intertwined, basically. And this is kind of the thing that you also saw with Sock Pop. Sock Pop can work because Sock Pop was 4 people living in the same house.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's almost cult-like of, like, you have this higher level of trust and you don't see, like, you're all in it. You all have the equity. You all have this desire to go the same direction.
Yeah.
And okay, then we have like the artists, and then suddenly we have to, maybe I sound like a horrible boss or something, but suddenly it's like, oh, it's a Saturday at 9 p.m. I can't message her now. I have to wait 2 days.
Yeah.
And that is a flow where like I just like now before this podcast, I had like a question that I wanted to ask William, and it was like 10:30 local time because it was morning my time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, hey, you have 5 minutes now. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is just, you're not going to find that most of the time. And even if we found it, there's also just the reality of we don't have money. I'd still need to pay myself 18,000 euros in outstanding wages and William another 10,000.
Yeah.
Let alone pulling in someone else, giving them a real livable wage, that it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
For a long time, we were like, hey, we should get an artist on the team. But now we're kind of also seeing like, hey, look, if we choose our game smartly, we can do actually a lot with game like assets, for example. Like Kyoto normally gets a lot of very good feedback of like, hey, this game is really beautiful, good cohesive art style. When in reality, all of it is asset packs at the end of the day. And just getting a better idea also of like, you know, not composition, but like finding out which things you can mix and match. And it's not like real art skills. And sure, sometimes it would be nice to get like a custom piece of art commissioned, but like for now we just stick to Fiverr.
Yeah.
I would love to have another me, but I don't think there is another me who like can just like do anything and be like, oh, there is a problem here. I can jump on this now and then spend like 2 days on it. And then there is a completely unrelated problem here. You can jump on this now. Oh, I need to do my monthly accounting. Sure thing, buddy. I can do this. Yeah. Or that's kind of what we're looking for more, I think, than a specific like game designer or game artist or programmer.
Yeah. Hard to fill in all the gaps. I would love to get one person that was like really good at art and some game design and like like technical experience in Unity, but like primarily an artist, and then just do like rev share with them and just like pump out beautiful looking games, because I think that would be like my ideal sort of pairing, but haven't met anybody that fits that bill yet.
What I find funny when I go to like game dev events, I often meet like viewers who come up to me, and most of them, if they're not solo, they just have like their wife as like their second person. But they like trained them to do like, oh, I gave them a graphics tablet, and 6 months later they started making art. It's like that's an approach. Yeah. So now I'm like, should I indoctrinate my wife as well to like slowly get into it?
Yeah. That's so fun.
Yeah.
I don't think my wife would go for it. Well, yeah, she doesn't really do a lot of. She's crafty, but she's not like artistic. So
yeah, there's differences there.
Yeah, but hey, maybe. No, I think I'm better off finding somebody else.
Maybe, yeah. It's just it's hard. I would like to work together more with people, but it's just like not realistic at the current stage, because I also have like these other visions of like, at some point if we get mega successful, we become like a micro publisher, and then like kind of, you know, we work together with other people, or like I work with them, they work with us, of like they do most of the game and we just give them like, here's enough money to survive development and I'll help you with your marketing and whatever. But those are like things that are not happening anytime soon. And I think I would rather do that than like have to worry about getting like another full-time employee on like payroll.
Yeah, totally. Before we wrap things up, I think I would love to hear if you have any advice for people listening if there's like one thing that you could recommend going into 2026 for game developers or aspiring game developers, what do you think people should do in 2026?
They should head to the link down below and join our exclusive mastermind. No, in all seriousness, you just make small games. You just make small games, I think, is the number one piece of advice.
Yeah.
And luckily, we have a course available for that, which is right now on sale. We do not have a course available. I think,
great.
yeah, like the list that Chris Sikowski made for the most part is fine.
Yeah.
I have some qualms with it. But like, I think make a horror game. Make a small horror game, even if you don't like horror games.
Yeah.
Because I think it is still something that is going to teach you a lot, especially if you've never shipped a game before. It's better to ship something that you almost don't have this innate attachment to. If you're like, oh, I hate horror games, they're only for kids, and what is the tunak tunak tun and like Italian brain rot memes, who would want to play this? But at least that means that you're going to ship it and you're going to kick it out of the door, and you're not going to get like emotionally attached to it for the next 7 years and not end up shipping anything.
Yeah.
I think is an important one as well. And it's also just a fun exercise in like game vibes, I think, is what horror is very good at as well, where like you can just make something very quickly that feels good, that feels like a game. You don't have to wait on 15 different mechanics and interoperable elements and all of that. You just have a first-person controller, you get a spooky soundtrack, and then you do some level design, and you can usually make something pretty vibey from that. Excuse me.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I've thought about trying to put together some sort of like schedule to help people who haven't really shipped games before, to where like you could do like, you know, the first thing is you need to make and ship a game in one day. And so how would you make that? You know, you just like have a ball that rolls and can jump, and you get to the finish line, and you make 3 levels, and that's like what you can do in a day. And then you post it online on like itch. And then you give yourself like a week to make a game, and then you give yourself 2 weeks, you know, and then like you only like are allowed to spend more time on a game if you're able to ship.
Yeah, and then you put it in a cohort with 20 people, and you slap a price tag on it, and you have the Thomas Game Dev Accelerator Bootcamp. I can see where this is going.
Okay. Yes.
I have seen through your plan.
I'll make tens of dollars. That's really funny.
It's something that I did consider at some point. You have like some of these courses that I do like. It's like you pay $1, kind of as like the commitment, and then if you actually like do the final tasks, you even get the dollar back. Yeah, more just to like get some financial incentive of like, hey, there's an immediate filter of like you see this on Steam as well, the difference between a free-to-play game, a $1 game, and a $2 game. Yeah. The bridge from 0 to 1 versus 1 to 2, like the amount of people you would lose is like 80% or something, even more, that wouldn't even want to commit like the $1 mark to it, basically. I think that could be like an interesting filter. Mm-hmm. But then I think about the logistics, because, okay, you pay them back, and then you pay still like your Stripe processing fees, and it's like it's too much pain, but it's something that like on paper sounds like a pretty nice idea, at least.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I wonder how that would work. How would that work? Could you just make like a $1 Steam game and use that as a admission ticket?
I know I would be like you would go to the Thomas Game Development cohort, but instead of it being $2.97, it's $1, and you say like, hey, if you complete this, you get it back, and it's a 4-week program or something. Yeah. So you make like a game in 1 day, a game in 3 days, a game in a week, and it scales up a game in 10 days. Yeah. And then if you submit like all of the itch.io builds 4 weeks later, you just send $1 back, and they've gotten somewhere better. Yeah. And like you have immediately had that filter of like, especially if you're like a Discord, it's not going to be swarmed by like people who like, because it's immediately private already. It's not just people who want to join the Discord because, hey, Thomas Stewart announced something new, this looks interesting. Right. If you're a real guru, you would then of course upsell them into private coaching costing like $2,000. But exactly, that is like if we ignore that part, that's kind of the pro bono approach, while still having some sort of a filter at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I started making a course about procedural generation that I was gonna put out because people were asking me about it with my game Bridges and Docks, and so, but I haven't made any progress on that. I don't think that I have. I mean, I like that idea because it's like a technical, like in my area of expertise, but in terms of like trying to like teach people game development in general, I don't think that I have the sort of experience to charge people for that. So, but I do like the idea of bringing people together in a community and encouraging them, though. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel like you need to do like a finishing up everything like week or something where you I don't know, like a week. Like you seem to have, like, from the previous podcast, all of these little loose ideas
yeah,
that kind of just keep like consuming some memory in
yeah.
the background.
You're
Then
not
you should
wrong.
just be like, I'm gonna go through this. This is like my 2 week period where I don't do anything new. I just
Yeah,
ship everything as fast as I can out of the door.
yeah,
It's something I've wanted to do myself as well, because at some point we had like four games we were working on at the same time. It's like, yeah, do we cancel this? We cancel two and we just ship the other two? And
yeah,
for 2 weeks, that's the only thing we worry about.
yeah. For a while, I was doing this thing called Fun Fridays, where on Friday I would just work on a like a really small project, and I would only get like 1 day a week to make progress on it, and I really liked that. But then it's just my schedule got eaten up by so much stuff, and I'm like, I don't have time for that anymore. So let me. Oh yeah, I was gonna do my advice for people for 2026.
What's your advice for me first, if I can ask you,
Yeah, let
based
me
on how
think.
you see me
Yeah,
approach game development? Because I'm not a beginner anymore, I hope. But
yeah,
I'm
no.
curious what you would say.
I mean, I feel like I fit in your audience demographic really well. And like I love what you guys are doing, especially with like the behind the scenes Patreon stuff, and like being very open with your like revenue and all of that stuff that you do with like business expenses. That's super valuable for somebody who's in my shoes that cares a lot about that sort of like operating a game studio stuff. Um, so I think your Patreon is great. I don't think I would change anything. Your YouTube channel, let me think. Let me pull it up and look at some of your latest titles. I feel like the videos that I like watching on your channel are usually the ones that are like your learnings about your own projects and processes, like firsthand experience videos. I tend not to watch the ones that are like talking about, like this one is like, you know, um, like other types of game dev YouTubers, or like it like the thematic ones where, yeah, like this one is like, why is it hard to finish your game? Like those ones don't appeal to me personally. I like kind of the in the trenches sort of storytelling that you guys have as a game studio. But also your tier list videos are really good too. And
Everyone
then
wants tier list videos.
I know it's so funny. And then as far as your games, I think it's interesting. It's hard because I'm not like a horror game person, or um like a streamer rage bait sort of player either. Um so I don't, but I wouldn't really want to give you direction on the types of games like I think that you should make the genres that you're familiar with and that you are passionate about. So it sounds like the anomaly games, like before you mentioned it, through your content online, I had never heard of an anomaly game, so I was like, oh, what's that? So um yeah, those are some thoughts though.
Yeah. And what's the general advice
For
for
people going
the
into
viewers?
2026,
Yeah.
just do things smaller. That's what I'm planning on doing. Like I feel like I just tried to schedule out my projects and timelines and everything too big, and so I think I just am realizing like I need to build margin into my schedule, because even like I schedule my roadmaps for projects like I am working at 100% efficiency the whole time. And then
You
when
don't.
exactly. And so then it's like, you know, my kid is sick and I didn't get any sleep, and so I'm only working at 60% capacity the next day, and then I fall behind, and then I get 3 days of like not getting everything done on my to-do list, and then I feel like, oh no, when am I going to make this up? And so it just kind of compounds. So that's I think just figuring out how to build margin into my days, and not trying to make the most out of every single work hour that I have.
Yeah,
But that's
I
me
have this
preaching to
problem
myself.
as well. Yeah, where like I said, I used to literally wake up like a day in the life of me. I was like, should I make vlogs? And it's like, no, because it's boring. I wake up at 6 in the morning, I shower, I sit behind my computer, I eat lunch at like 11:30. I
Yeah.
go back to the computer. I eat dinner at 6:30. Go back to the computer. I go to sleep, and
Yeah.
I was very happy with that. That's like
Yeah.
the craziest part. I love that. I like being alone, but I'm not lonely. I think it's
Yeah.
like kind of what it comes down to. And then now suddenly it's like I'm living a normal life, and I'm still planning as if I have like 16 hours a day to just grind
Yeah.
on game dev. When in reality it's not realistic, and it's not something that you probably can do either, even if you did it.
Yeah. Totally. I can relate to that a lot. But it's just a season of life. I think that everybody's realizing, like, you are now married now. That's going to be like a whole different season with different expectations and everything. And, having young kids in the home, that's going to be like a season for me. And then, who knows what things will look like once they get a little bit older and all that. So it's, there's a time for everything. And the time for 16-hour work days are past.
It's coming to an end.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat through this. You're one of the people that I love hearing your voice and commentary on what's happening in the game dev niche. People who are listening to this can go sign up to our cohort in the link in the description below. And we only have 17 seats left, so you better jump on that.
Yeah, the seats closes in 24 hours from after you're listening to this video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whenever it is. I love those click funnels.
Like the websites that just always like,
Yeah.
when every time you refresh the timer just
Yeah.
resets to like 17 hours and 52
Exactly.
minutes.
Yep. You're like, wait a second, this will never hit 0 if I just refresh it. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, seriously, thanks again. And let's stay in touch. Maybe we can do round 3.
Thanks
in
for
the
the
future.
invite as well.
Cool.
So, yeah. All right. See
See
ya.
ya.